For Israel, the military campaign after October 7th is seen as a matter of survival, not choice. The main goal: dismantle Hamas's military and governing power to prevent future attacks on Israeli civilians. Israeli leaders frame the operation as targeted at Hamas, not Palestinians, emphasizing the complexity of fighting an enemy embedded in civilian areas. The safe return of hostages is a parallel, urgent objective, shaping every military decision. Ultimately, Israel seeks a new security reality, one where southern communities are safe and Gaza can't be used as a launch pad for attacks. Israel acknowledges the severe humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the suffering of civilians. Many Israelis express empathy, but insist the conflict's root is Hamas's tactics, embedding fighters and weapons among civilians. The dilemma? How to allow aid without empowering Hamas, which has a record of diverting supplies. Security checks on aid are explained as necessary to prevent weapons smuggling. Distribution is further complicated by chaos within Gaza, with reports of aid being seized by Hamas or criminal groups. Israel argues that a real solution requires secure, Hamas-free aid delivery. Israel strongly rejects accusations of genocide and deliberate starvation, insisting that such claims are not only unfounded, but also deeply misleading. Government officials and spokespeople have repeatedly emphasized that these allegations misrepresent both their intentions and the realities on the ground. They call these accusations distortions of Israel's intent, arguing that the country's actions are being unfairly scrutinized and mischaracterized by international critics and media outlets. Officials maintain that the war is directed solely at Hamas, not at the Palestinian population as a whole. They highlight the numerous warnings issued to civilians, through leaflets, phone calls, and loudspeakers, as evidence of efforts to minimize harm to non-combatants, even in the midst of intense conflict. Israel also points to its ongoing efforts to facilitate humanitarian aid into Gaza, despite the challenges posed by the security situation. The government blames delays and bottlenecks on the need for thorough security checks and accuses Hamas of interfering with aid distribution, sometimes even seizing supplies for its own use. From the Israeli perspective, these accusations of genocide and starvation are seen as political tools wielded by opponents to delegitimize Israel's right to defend itself against ongoing attacks and threats from Hamas. Many ordinary Israelis feel that the world holds them to an impossible standard, often overlooking the complexities and moral dilemmas of urban warfare against a group that embeds itself within civilian populations. This perception of being misunderstood or unfairly judged by the international community fuels a sense of isolation, but also strengthens their determination to act in what they see as their own security interests, prioritizing the safety of their families and communities. The prevailing narrative within Israel remains clear. The military campaign is aimed at dismantling a terrorist organization, not targeting civilians, and every effort is made to distinguish between the two, even under the most challenging circumstances. Inside Israel, a fierce and emotional debate rages over the issue of humanitarian aid to Gaza. The question of whether to allow supplies and assistance into the territory has become a flashpoint, exposing deep divisions within Israeli society and government. Some hardliners, including vocal protest groups and certain political factions, demand that all aid be halted until Israeli hostages held by Hamas are released. They argue that any assistance risks strengthening Hamas, potentially prolonging the conflict and putting Israeli lives in further danger. On the other hand, Israeli military leaders and security experts warn that completely blocking aid could trigger a severe humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Such a move, they caution, might provoke international condemnation, destabilize the region, and even endanger Israeli soldiers operating near the border. As a result, government policy is a careful compromise, balancing urgent security needs, diplomatic pressures from allies, and the powerful influence of public opinion at home. Among the Israeli public, especially families of hostages, opinions are deeply divided. Some see humanitarian aid as a potential bargaining chip to secure the release of loved ones, while others worry that it could undermine Israel's security and negotiating position. The outcome is a patchwork of shifting policies and heated debates, reflecting the complex reality of competing priorities, values, and fears within Israeli society. Ultimately, Israel's approach to humanitarian aid in Gaza is shaped by a mix of fear, strategic calculation, and the enduring hope for a safer, more secure future for all its citizens. Israel is currently facing mounting and sustained international pressure to increase the flow of humanitarian aid into Gaza, with particularly strong calls coming from the United States and the United Nations. The world is watching closely, urging Israel to do more to alleviate the suffering of civilians caught in the conflict and to ensure that essential supplies reach those in desperate need. In response to these demands, Israel has taken steps to open additional aid corridors, allowing more trucks and supplies to enter Gaza. However, Israeli authorities remain adamant that strict security checks are absolutely non-negotiable, citing the ongoing risk of weapons smuggling and attacks. Balancing humanitarian concerns with security priorities remains a complex and delicate challenge. Israeli officials are walking a diplomatic tightrope, demonstrating flexibility and cooperation to appease key allies, while at the same time making it clear that the safety of Israeli citizens is their top priority. Every decision is weighed carefully, as leaders try to maintain international support without compromising national security. Looking to the future, Israel maintains that any lasting peace in the region will only be possible if Hamas is removed from power and robust, long-term security arrangements are established in Gaza. The government argues that only by neutralizing threats can a stable and peaceful coexistence be achieved. While the path ahead is filled with uncertainty, Israel's position remains firm. Security must come first. Only after ensuring the safety of its people, officials say, can the groundwork for a lasting peace truly begin to take shape. Ultimately, the hope shared by many is for a future where both Israelis and Gazans can live side by side in safety and dignity, free from fear, and able to rebuild their lives once the threat of violence and extremism has been overcome.